I noticed it the way you notice a draft in a closed room, nothing dramatic, just a thin thread of air where there shouldn't be any. It started with a calendar entry that kept moving itself, a weekly strategy call on Thursdays that slipped to Wednesdays and then became client dinner with the same end time to the minute. I'm a woman who lives by lists. I don't snoop. I reconcile. I reconciled time with receipts and found little gaps that added up to space you could hide a life inside. The first time I felt the hair rise on my arms was over a pair of cufflinks I'd never seen before. Matte gunmetal, tidy as a lie. He said a coworker gifted them. I said they were handsome. Then came the charger that didn't fit any of our devices, tucked behind a plant as if leaves could make electronics faithful. He laughed. He always laughed first and said it was the hotel's by mistake. He'd return it. The charger stayed. I told myself loyalty means trusting the ordinary. I cooked, I worked, I slept beside a man whose breath counted time, and I told myself the clock was a friend. We shared passwords on a sheet of paper for, in case of emergency, and even that felt like proof enough. If you are looking for a red flag big as a billboard, you will miss the string of little ones tied like bunting, festive until you step back. A Thursday in late fall, he came home smelling like a candle I don't own, sandalwood. Expensive, with a citrus that didn't belong to us. He said the restaurant was trying a new thing where they scent the room. I nodded, filed it. When I washed his shirt, a napkin fell from the pocket, starched and folded, with a number on it and a single initial, R, written in a hand too careful to be casual. He saw it in my palm, said the waiter was building a side business and hustling for clients. He's quick like that, quick enough to trip me. I placed the napkin on the counter like a bird I had no plan for. By winter, he had a second gym bag he never left open. He grew fond of meetings in lobbies whose names he couldn't pronounce twice. The cat, who tells the truth accidentally, began sleeping by the front door instead of the bed. I started waking at 2 with a hot, mean fear, and made tea to cool it down. The day I realized he had rehearsed another life was the day I found a set of keys on a ring I didn't recognize, tagged with a fob that beeped when my building's door did not. I held them and felt their weight tell a story. You do not carry keys to nowhere, I asked. He smiled the way men smile when they are tired of being watched and said storage, a shared unit for skis he never used. I am careful. I am also tired of being careful. I opened notes on my phone and wrote, keys, charger, cufflinks, sandalwood. R. I kept my own calendar and marked it, beginning. Truth doesn't kick the door. It slides under it. A snowstorm knocked out power across half the city on a Wednesday, and with it went his strategy call, which turned into a hotel lobby because the Wi-Fi is stronger. He texted a photo of a cappuccino and a book he doesn't read. I texted back a heart because sometimes hearts are reconnaissance. 10 minutes later, Noor, my friend who saves receipts and people, sent me a screenshot from a neighborhood group she lurks in. Anyone else without power on Maple? The photo showed candlelit windows lining the block like a vigil. Behind the cafe in his picture, I could see the reflection of a storefront I knew, the one across town where the power hadn't gone out at all. I put on boots. I told myself I was going for milk, which was both a lie and a joke. The cafe was crowded with stranded people telling jokes about board games and batteries. He wasn't there. I ordered tea I didn't drink and watched the door. 32 minutes later he texted, heading home, roads bad, might crash at the hotel. Hotel. Another photo, a carpet with a pattern like migraine aura, generic enough to be plausible. I walked 3 blocks to the nearest lobby with that chain's logo. The concierge said no outages reported, smiled like a professional, and my stomach went hollow with the quiet knowledge that I was playing charades with a ghost. Back home, the power stuttered and came back with a throat-clearing sound. My front door opened to no one, the cat unimpressed with my performance. I took a shower too hot and stood there until the mirror stopped being helpful. Midnight, he arrived with the smell of a story on him. He kissed my head and said roads were a mess, a truck jackknifed. Can you believe it? I said I could. In the morning, an email came to our shared address from a florist I didn't use, thanking him for his order and asking if the delivery time for Friday still worked for R. The message was polite, efficient, and it used his full name. He had paid with the card we keep for points. I said, who is R? Over toast. Same tone I might use to ask if we needed olive oil. He said a client. Then the florist made a mistake. Then can we not do this at breakfast? I said okay because pushing on a lie is like pressing a bruise. It teaches you where the edges are, not what caused it. Noon, I called the florist, a voice that sounded like crisp paper. I said I was confirming the address. She read it out, a street near the lake. Not ours. Apartment 4C. I thanked her and hung up, shaking with something that was not fear and not rage, something like a pulse finally sinking. I left work early. The snow was clean in the way it is right after it falls. No footprints yet. A blank that begs for handwriting. The building on the lake had a doorman with a book and a kindness I didn't deserve. I said I was dropping off a sweater for my sister, held up a gray wool thing from my bag like a passport. He buzzed me without theater. In the elevator, I watched my face say nothing. 4C had a wreath that wasn't trying too hard. My new keys might have rattled. My hand didn't. I knocked. A woman opened the door with a look I recognized, the look of someone expecting a friend and getting a test. "Can I help you?" she asked, and her voice did not carry guilt. Behind her, a kitchen I hadn't cleaned, a cat I didn't know, identical to mine but not mine, tortoiseshell, judgmental. "I'm looking for—" I said his name. She smiled, flawed and human. "He's not here yet," she said. Then, the florist's arrival behind me like a punchline. "For R," the courier began. And both our heads turned. The card slid out with its short, practiced sentence. "Friday already." The room's oxygen rearranged itself. "I'm R," she said, as if that could fix the chronology. I nodded, the kind of nod people give when they have been told they won't like the truth and discover they like it anyway because it does not move when you touch it. We sat at her table the way survivors sit stiff, with the effort not to be awful to each other. She poured tea because women pour tea when buildings burn. "How long?" she asked, and I laughed in the wrong key. "Years," I said, and she said, "Me too." And the quiet after was a map legend. "You are here, here is grief." She showed me a drawer with a charger that matched the orphan in my plant. I showed her a photo of the cufflinks. "Anniversary," she said softly, and I counted backward and almost threw up. We pulled out calendars like detectives playing a cruel game of bingo. Thursdays, hotels, the scent of sandalwood as a portable alibi. She had a key fob that beeped when my building's door did not. I had a spare key to a storage unit that owned skis that didn't exist. "Does he have any kids?" she asked, voice brittle and brave. And I shook my head because in this one thing, at least, the universe had been lazy. We discovered we knew the same jokes, the same gestures. He recycled stories like plastic slick, durable, choking. She had met his sister once. I don't have a sister. I had chatted with his landlord on speaker. She owns her place. We found receipts in each other's pockets, credit card histories like fossils. Rage visited, checked the room, set down a bag. "I'm not mad at you," she said, and I believed her because I wasn't mad at her either. I was mad at whatever makes people collect hearts like points. The door clicked. We both stood, a stage tableau, the wife and the wife of a different kind, though neither title fit or deserved us. He walked in with the face of a boy who thought he'd be graded on charm. He shut the door and understood. I watched recognition drip down him like sweat. "Okay," he said, as if he could direct this scene. "Let's be adults." I laughed because what else do you do when a person mistakes you for their mirror? "You don't get to narrate," I said. "You've been narrating both of us for years." R stepped forward and placed the florist's card on the counter as if blessing a body. "How many?" she asked him. He didn't understand. "How many lives are you living?" Her voice was sharp enough to draw blood from the truth. He tried a speech about love being complicated and work being worse. He said we were both special in different ways, which is the kind of sentence you buy in bulk when you are running 2 stories at once. He reached for her. She stepped back. He reached for me. I did not. I sat down because my knees wanted ground, not performance. "You owe math," I said. "Dates, times, names, money. You owe failure. With receipts." He tried charm. It slid off. He tried anger. It looked cheap on him. He tried shame. It fit for a second and then he wriggled. R opened a cabinet and pulled out his second gym bag. She unzipped it and poured its contents on the table. Duplicates, triplicates, deodorant, shirt, toothbrush, a packet of hotel mints he'd never eat, a life in travel size. Climax arrived without confetti. We called a meeting at a place that sells neutrality by the cup, the mediator's office, with ficus, water cooler, a shelf of books about conflict that smell like surrender. He agreed because people like him love rooms where they can perform remorse with an audience. We each brought a friend. I brought Noor, who file folds fury into statements. R brought her cousin, a woman who wears truth like a leather jacket. He brought no one because men like him believe everyone is a potential understudy. The mediator, a kind-eyed man with a tie that tried too hard, said we would each tell our truth. I said, no, our timeline. We laid it out like a ledger. The months doubled, the holidays halved. The Thursday strategy calls that were dinner at my place, and then dancing at hers. The business trip that included a museum I had once begged to see and a caption under a photo taken from an angle that cut me out of my own memory. He tried to interrupt. The mediator held up a palm like a traffic sign. You'll have your turn. When it came, he wept the way some people sweat reflexively and in public. He said his father had left when he was 5 and he had learned to be 2 people to keep a house from collapsing. Noor said gently that therapy exists, not as an insult but as a route he had chosen not to take. R's cousin asked about money, and the math cut like glass. Shared accounts, private cards, a loan from R for a work certification that turned out to be a weekend at a lake house with friends who had never heard of me. I felt a steady heat. not a blaze anger that had put on boots and intended to work all day. The mediator suggested restorative phrases. I said, "We are not restoring this. We are delineating it." I slid across a folder with screenshots, receipts, prints of calendars with overlaps highlighted. "Facts are rude only to lies," he said. "I love you both," and the room exhaled like a tired animal. R laughed. One note. A beautiful knife. "You love the version of yourself each of us made possible." The mediator offered options: pause, separation, accountability agreements. I said the only agreement I would sign was a schedule. "He moves his things out by Friday. We separate finances today. He signs a statement acknowledging the debt he owes me, and he never again tells a story with my name in it." He balked. Noor read the line again, slow. R added, "He contacts no one on her side of the family. No more accidents in shared spaces." The mediator nodded. "Reasonable." He scribbled. "We signed papers that made the air different." He asked for a hug. I looked at the ficus and imagined it uprooting itself to leave. "No," I said. "Hugs are for people who keep me whole." He flinched like I'd flicked his ear. R put the florist's card on the table, a totem of the day the timeline snapped. "I'm done," she said. And I heard the quiet, enormous dignity of a woman ending something in the middle of a sentence and not apologizing for grammar. Falling action looked like logistics. Lies are fast, paperwork is patient. We unwound a life with passwords and packing tape. Noor came with a label maker and mercy. He texted little tragedies, like a boy with a scraped knee asking for a parade. "Found your red scarf in my bag. Want me to drop it? Please leave it with the doorman." "I miss the cat." "The cat doesn't miss you." R and I compared notes when necessary, not like trauma buddies but like accountants who refused to let a cent go uncounted. I canceled the joint credit card with a click that felt like a prayer. He sent the first repayment late and with an emoji. I returned the transfer and resent the schedule. He learned punctuation. My apartment shrank and then opened like a lung. I moved furniture as if shuffling a deck could deal me a better hand. The charger behind the plant went into a bag labeled "Return to No One," and I left it at the electronics recycling like a ritual. Nights came that were quiet and not lonely. Nights came that were loud with the echo of a man not there. I learned my own footsteps again. I slept diagonally like a conqueror of small countries. Work got better because my brain stopped hauling a secret up a hill. I walked by the lake and didn't feel I was trespassing on R's view. I texted her a photo of the water when the wind made a pattern like handwriting. She sent back a picture of the cat sprawled on her belly with the caption, "We kept custody of Joy." Some people wanted a villain. An aunt asked me at a party if I had kept him on too short a leash, and I said I don't leash people, I invite them. She looked confused in a way that made me tender to my own face in mirrors. My mother, who has a good nose for nonsense, said I had been brave and then cut me fruit that tasted like apology in a language we both speak. On a Tuesday, he sent a careful, small essay about growth, and I didn't reply because we do not owe applause to people practicing basic forms of decency. I changed the lock, even though the rules said I didn't need to. The new key turned with a sound that gave me something back I hadn't known I'd lost. Resolution is quieter than you think. It doesn't arrive in a cape. It takes off its shoes at the door. I kept the cat and my name and the habit of writing the truth down where I can see it. I sent R a plant for her windowsill, a rosemary, because it likes light and refuses to thrive without being touched. She sent me a photo months later. It lived. In the spring, Noor threw me a small dinner. The kind with good bread and not a single speech. We clinked glasses to things that do not have hashtags. A steady morning, a lock that answers to only one key, the delicious boredom of not tracking a second life. Once, at the market, I saw him in the cereal aisle reaching for the brand he used to pretend he didn't like, and I did not feel anything dramatic. Just distance, measurable and kind. He nodded. I nodded. The world did not tilt. Later, he married a woman I had never heard of, a fact I learned the way you learn all non-essential news now. A photo floating in a feed, a suit, a smile, a caption that did not call it his second try. I hoped she had a timeline and a friend like Noor and a refusal to live inside anyone's magic trick. R started seeing someone who owned 3 plants and 2 first editions and one very blunt laugh. She told me only after it had stopped being fragile. I adjusted my furniture one last time and it clicked into place like I had discovered how the room wanted to be loved. When people ask me when I realized my partner was living a double life, I tell them about the charger behind the plant and the florist's email and the day a stranger opened a door with my future on the other side. The truth is I realized it in pieces, and then all at once. Not a thunderclap, a forecast I finally believed. I keep a small note taped inside my closet where only sweaters can read it. I do not audition for a person who needs 2 audiences. It makes me smile when I am late and when I am early. It makes me choose women with rosemary and men with one story, and myself, always, with both hands.